Welcome, trainers, to our second season playing through each Pokemon generation. 7 badges down, only 1 more to go. My name is Chris. I'm the last trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Crystal. I'm also joined by my 2 fellow co-hosts.
My name is Sean. I'm the Fire Breather trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Gold.
And my name is Dustin. I'm the Gentleman trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Silver.
And we are known as the Trainer Trio. In our last episode, we acquired both the Storm and Mineral badge by defeating Chuck the Bully and Jasmine, the second best gym leader of Olivine, followed by our very own Gentleman Oliver Olivine.
Thank you very much for that intro, Chris.
Of course. In today's episode, we're going to receive a very strange broadcast and need to backtrack a little bit. We may encounter some special Pokemon, and then after that, continue our journey through Route 44, the Ice Path, Blackthorn City, and Route 45.
Do you want me to go right into it with the well, it's not really a broadcast, but we do get a phone call.
Ring, ring, ring.
From Professor Elm, right after defeating our 7th gym leader, that is Jasmine in this case, in Olivine City. He says that there's something weird going on with the radio broadcasts. Maybe it has something to do with Team Rocket, but it can't be true because that would mean Team Rocket would return. And it's funny how he says this because at this point, we already went to one of Team Rocket's headquarters and basically beat everyone there. We also helped at Slowpoke well. So it's interesting how people still do not believe that Team Rocket has returned. We're still just battling them in the secret like a vigilante.
It makes you wonder, how big were they before the first game? Because if everyone, knows about them, was it just that they only had their moment of glory when they got beat by us in the first game? Or were they a well-known criminal organization that's been running for several years?
I think they were well-known, and then we just destroyed them in Gen 1. No one ever thought they could come back. And I think a little side note, if I'm remembering correctly, when you play Fire Red and Leaf Green, I think part of that post-game on those Sevi Islands is about people who want to resurrect Team Rocket. So I like to believe that's a prequel to what we're experiencing here in Gen 2.
So yeah, after the phone call, obviously we have to investigate. By investigate, that means we have to head back to Goldenrod City, where when you get there, you see that a lot of the areas you could go are actually blocked off by people in all black. And so they force you kind of to go to the radio tower to find out what's happening.
The whole city seems to be taken over by Team Rocket. And is their goal currently just to make all the Pokemon go crazy with this radio signal? And if so, I was just thinking, how will that help them make money? Because isn't that their main goal?
I think Team Rocket's goal is to try and get Giovanni out of his hiding spot and rejoin them. They've done a good job of starting to regroup, and they're now hijacking the radio stations to broadcast out and get Giovanni back.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So it's crazy how their goals do change then from making money to try to call out their fearless leader from hiding.
They have no faith without their leader, which is sad. There are so many other Team Rocket admins that could have done the job, but I guess they need a mafia boss like Giovanni with his Italian stereotypes.
I mean, how many of the other admins even have names, Chris? Giovanni has a name. No one else does in Team Rocket in this game.
You haven't faced Grunt, Grunt, and Grunt?
I think it's funny in back-to-back games that Team Rocket takes over a tower. It was Silphco, the first one. Now it's the radio broadcast tower.
That's true. They took over 2 cities too then, in that case.
Pretty powerful to do that.
Did you guys do anything other than, I know we have to go into the radio tower, but did you have any other interactions around the town first?
I think I talked to all the people, but I didn't make any notes, so it wasn't anything memorable.
Yeah, was there any fun interaction, Dustin?
I didn't record any fun interactions other than once when we do go inside of the radio tower. I thought how funny it was how earlier in the game, you couldn't get to the second level of the radio tower. They just shut it down. But now the fact that this evil criminal organization took over this whole building, now we're just able to walk right in to the 2nd floor. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, all the guards were taken out by Team Rocket.
And Team Rocket didn't even leave. Well, they do leave guards for us to face, but it's just so easy for us to get by them.
Yeah, pretty weak. I did know I really liked the music in the radio tower. I thought it was a good soundtrack.
Oh, all the music in this generation is just so good.
I still think Gen 1's better.
I think it's more iconic. I think if you play Pallet Town versus New Bark Town, yeah, I agree. Or the Route 1 theme versus Route 29. But Gen 2 has its bangers in there. Let me tell you.
My favorite one right now is just when you're on the water surfing. That's actually our ending theme this season. So I really like that song. One of the grunts that I faced inside, they mentioned that it feels great ordering Pokemon to commit crimes and that I must crush anyone who challenges Team Rocket. After you beat him, he says, I failed my duties. My pay will be docked for this. So I do feel kind of bad for basically this one employee that's just working at Team Rocket trying to earn a living, and now I'm directly affecting his livelihood.
I mean, he chose the wrong career path for you to have to worry about it.
That's true. And I think he had Muck too, or one of the grunts had Muck. And I did take a note that I actually really like Muck's sprite in Gen 2.
Oh, I want to take a look. Muck's sprite. I will say, though, this is such a disappointing part of the game. We are right before our 8th gym badge. We are almost at max strength that you should be pre-Elite 4. And we're facing a Rocket Grunt with 5 Rattatas in the low 20s? What is this? No items, no nothing? Like, I gotta be honest, when I was going through this section, I almost started to go on autopilot because it became only Rocket Grunts, boring Pokemon that we've seen over and over again, and most of them level 25 or below. Ugh.
It was very disappointing, I think is the best way to say it. Because exactly like Chris is saying, this is the last real adventure before we go into our final gym. This is end game activities and just repetitive rocket grunts. It was just boring. It felt kind of like a chore just getting through this part of it.
Yeah, I guess moving on to like the 5th floor then, the director's office. This is where you do come face to face with an imposter who you think is the director of the Rio Tower, but happens to just be a Rocket executive. So it turns out that Team Rocket is now being run by a group of executives instead of just one person.
See, they don't need Giovanni. They got plenty of executives to do their bidding.
You need a monarchy, not an oligarchy. It's the only way to run a successful criminal organization, Chris. Obviously.
Okay, don't give Sean any power. One more side thing. I think on the 2nd floor in Pokemon Crystal, there's a radio broadcaster named Buena. She has a channel called Buena's Passwords. And so when you listen to it, you can get the password and redeem it for prizes if you go back to the tower. But this time, if you go and talk to her, she says, "What's today's password? Help, of course." I like to imagine that our player character went up and said, hey, what's the password today? And she was like, "Are you kidding me?"
I don't have any other notes other than when you beat this Rocket executive, he does tell you where the real director is, which he is in the underground warehouse. Of course, the first place I thought to look was under the department store where there is a warehouse, but I can't find the director there. Turns out they actually meant the underground tunnel. There's another door that you can unlock now that you have the key. And that leads to the real underground that you're supposed to go to.
Did you not ever try to go that way before?
I probably did, but at this point, like, how many hours have I been playing? This is 38 hours now.
Yeah, good point.
I was at 11 hours, so it's almost been 30 hours since I last explored Goldenrod.
Oh, I will say one more thing. Something I thought was fun was there are a couple scientists in the radio tower, and one of the scientists has a bunch of Magnemite, which kind of makes sense. They have their electric things going on. But one of them, Scientist Rich, has a level 30 Porygon. I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if we've ever faced a Porygon in the series before. I don't remember one in Gen 1. And also, the weird history of Porygon. It was in an episode that got banned, and that one, I believe, had a scientist in there. That was its story. So it's a bit of a lore to just Porygon in general, this man-made Pokemon.
I don't even think in this game we'll get that far, but Porygon 2 is one of my favorite designs. And because I'm saying that, it's just so hard to get in this game. And then I don't even know how you get the trait evolution.
We will get you that Porygon 2, Sean.
Especially if he's your favorite Pokemon.
He's up there. And then because in current Pokemon play, he's still very competitive. And just, I love the design so much. Such a goofy little duck.
I like the concept of it, that Porygon's this like 8-bit type of Pokemon, and then you give it an upgrade and it becomes this smooth, shiny Pokemon.
2D to 3D, Chris.
Moving into the underground, this is where you battle your rival. In my case, this was Sire VV. But how about the two of you? Do you have any notes on this?
I was just surprised. I didn't know we fought a rival here, so it just caught me by surprise.
It also caught me by surprise, and it's one of the bad surprises where you're kind of halfway through and your Pokemon are a little weakened, and then he shows up. Like, seriously? Like, did you have to show up now? But I didn't write any notes on this. I still feel like this part of the game was just too easy that I was just going through it.
I wrote notes on like the battle, but just super basic because nothing interesting happened. Just like, oh, I used so-and-so for so-and-so.
I'm really glad that we are battling each other after the end of each episode, because that really adds to that level of like, all right, I really have to still train, even though everyone's really easy in the world. When battling you guys, we have really close battles, which is always fun.
I will say after the rival battle is when I finally have been able to evolve my Quilava to a Typhlosion. It was very funny because I got Typhlosion and I was just looking over his stats because he's a pretty strong Pokemon. And I noticed he is both my strongest special attacker and physical attacker. Because he's meant to be a special attacker, but it's just he, out of all the other Pokemon on my team, hits the hardest. So now I'm definitely going to try and utilize both his special and physical attack.
Can't wait to see that in action.
The one thing I'll add about the rival fight is that Chikorita really is easy mode because you should have a level 32 opposing starter Pokemon that you face. And so you guys had Feraligatr and Meganium. I just get Quilava. He doesn't even have a Typhlosion to fight against. So it was all of these not fully evolved Pokemon between Sneasel, Magnemite, Haunter, Golbat, and Quilava. None of them are final forms. Well, at this point, Sneasel was, I guess, but it's a single form.
I was going to correct you right there.
Thank you, Pokemaster.
I don't have any notes on his team, but I do have a note on what he says, which he still does not accept what he is doing as wrong, and that he should be training Pokemon better. And he even mentions that Lance, the dragon trainer, also told him to treat Pokemon better, but for whatever reason, he decides not to accept this and still keeps losing terrible knee bases. I believe this is where we move into the puzzle segment.
What was even the puzzle for this again?
That was where we were in the basement and there were 3 switches on the wall. And depending on what you pressed, it opened gates essentially, or opened pathways.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you guys fare here?
I clicked random panels and kept checking back and forth until one worked. It's not that hard. I mean, there's only 3 of them, but I don't even think it was that intuitive because I want to say the last trainer you fight says, I'll give you a hint. And his hint is press them in specific orders or something along those lines. I was like, oh, he's going to give it away. That's pretty awesome. And then he just says, ooh, make sure you pay attention to which order you're pressing it in. I was like, well, yeah, of course.
I had some difficulty here because I did read both of their lines because 2 of them actually referenced the puzzle and how to solve it. I thought that the first door was supposed to open. There's like 3 separate doors in the segment. And I never decided to look further down when that furthest door was opening.
Oh.
Basically, how to solve the puzzle, you're literally supposed to go in the furthest door, and then there's another door deeper down that tunnel that opens. And after 10 minutes, I was like, all right, I have to look online. I have to figure out how to solve this puzzle. And when I saw that, I was just so frustrated with myself because I literally solved it in the beginning, but I just didn't walk far enough to see it.
I was going to say, like, I instantly solved it. Like, I had no issue whatsoever.
Sean doesn't even remember the puzzle. That's how easy it was.
And I'm here struggling.
Yeah, I did until you mentioned it. I was like, wait, that was a puzzle? What?
Well, there was a burglar inside here, Burglar Eddie, who mentions that they ditched this project before finishing and that he's looking for leftover loot. And I thought that was interesting how... Is this someone who was burglaring during the Team Rocket invasion, or was it before they even invaded?
I will say, I love finding a burglar because these guys drop 2,000 Pokedollars when you beat them. Money's hard to come by in Johto.
And you're probably the only person happy to see a burglar, Chris.
Only when you can beat them up and steal their money. Anyways, you go through the tunnel, you get the key from the director, and then you end up back in the Goldenrod Tower. There's a couple executives There is one that is a female with an Arbok, a Vileplume, and a Murkrow. And then there is another one with a Houndour, a Coughing, and a Houndoom. And that is a tease because, as many Gen 2 fans will know, you cannot get Houndour until the post game, which is so disappointing because shows off dark types great. It looks really cool. We could all use more fire types, but only the executive gets that.
And is that how you pronounce it? I usually say Hounder, but it's Houndour.
I'll defer to Sean. Break the tie.
Is it Greek?
It says a combination of hound and I think this word is dour. D-O-U-R.
Door. But I would pronounce it door.
Houndour.
You know what? Let's just pronounce it however we want.
I'm just going to say Houndour.
Well, going back, I did take the notes of like what they want to do, which they do want to announce here at the radio tower. Team Rocket's come back with the hopes of bringing Giovanni back from his solo training, as you mentioned already. So after you beat them, they decide to disband the Team Rocket, just like how Giovanni did before them, is what they mentioned after you beat them. And in Pokemon Silver, you get the Silver Wing.
Oh yeah, we get the Rainbow Wing.
And I get the Clear Bell.
Exciting. We all got different items. And apparently the real director comes in and he mentions that you save Pokemon worldwide. So that's pretty crazy. I didn't realize this radio tower would affect the entire world. I thought it'd just be a region of Johto.
I don't know if you guys wrote down what the director said after he gave you the item, but I know in Pokemon Crystal, he said that there used to be a tower right here in Goldenrod City, but it was so old and creaky, so we replaced it with the radio tower, and we dug up the bell during construction. I heard that all sorts of Pokemon lived in Goldenrod in the past, and perhaps this is it's tied to the tower in Ecruteak. So he gives you a hint on where to go, but that's some fun little lore they added there, that they dug it up during construction when they tore down the old tower. Because I think that's kind of the theme of Johto is ages of time, old and past, traditionalism. I like the theming.
Did you guys talk to the workers after Team Rocket left? If you do get an item, the Pink Bow from one of the office workers, increases normal type moves. And I also received the TM Sunny Day, even though I will not add that to my Pokemon, but it does make me remember back when me and Sean went to Lake Tahoe and we were battling each other, and he had a Sunny Day team that destroyed my Pokemon team.
I did. I know exactly what you're talking about. I did.
I can't be in ones with that team.
Whether it's cool that it's introduced now, but I think it doesn't really find its real strength until later, and I'll explain when we get to that part.
I have Rain Dance and Sunny Day on my Pokemon, so I think it found its use already. Did you go into the storage room and get any items by chance?
Did you?
No, you guys didn't go there?
I did not.
Oh, no?
Yeah, if you go in the tunnel, you can go to the basement of the Goldenrod department store. And then from there, actually, it depends on what day you're playing, because in the game, the workers are moving boxes. And what that means is, I think daily, it changes the layout slightly of the room and different items become accessible based on when you're there. And I got the Amulet Coin, and I was so happy because now every battle that Pokemon who has it is in, it doubles my winnings, and I now have over 100,000 Pokedollars. I feel so happy now that I've been using the Amulet Coin. You know, there's going to be different game corners later in the game, and I think stockpiling some money now will be so helpful. So now that we received our different items, I think all of our stories are going to be slightly different, but I get to go back to Ecruteak City, and from there, I actually get to face these monks. There's 3 monks that challenge me. Technically, there's sages, Sage, Gaku, and a couple other ones. They just have Noctowls, and so I have to face these 3 sages to prove that I'm worthy to go even attempt to find the legendary Pokemon Suicune. So Suicune actually has been following me during this game, and I think I've mentioned it a little bit in different episodes that I'll find Suicune and it'll hop around. I know I found it in Cyanwood. I found it originally at the tower. So after I face these couple sages, then I get to go into the Tin Tower, and actually all 3 dogs are there. I get to see Raikou, I get to see Entei, and I get to see Suicune. However, the other 2 just hop around like their little sprites do, like boop, 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 and go away. But I do get to face Suicune. Suicune is level 40 in my game. I assume that's probably similar to the legendary that you guys have in your game. So Suicune, in this case, is actually not that good of a Pokemon, at least not on the onset. It knows Leer, because Pokemon can never shy away from giving its legendaries useless moves. It knows Gust, which I think there's some lore there that it controls wind, but don't quite get it. It knows Rain Dance, back to the weather that we were talking about, and it knows Bubble Beam. And let me tell you, this Suicune gave me so much trouble because I either kept running out of balls to catch it or I kept accidentally KOing it trying to get it into low health. It was never going to kill me, especially because my Politoed is a water-type Pokemon. It can take these hits fine. It puts Suicune to sleep with Hypnosis, but I only came in with 10 Ultra Balls because I really didn't want to waste my money buying 30 Ultra Balls, using maybe 28 of them and having them fail. That's just a waste of money.
Chris, at this point, I thought you had like 100,000 Pokedollars.
That was...
Yeah.
That was like about an hour in the future. At this point, I had a little less. So I was struggling really hard with Suicune here, especially with just the 10 balls. And I did the math. There's a website that calculates this, and I should have had between a 5 and 8% chance of catching with an Ultra Ball every time I threw it. I think it took me about 4 encounters before finally one of the 10 Ultra Balls connected. And so, yes, I did catch Suicune.
Took you 10 encounters to catch it?
I think it was 4. I think it was 4. It could have been 5. I'm gonna go with 4. So it's between 40 and 50 Ultra Balls that I threw, which was quite frustrating. And I'm putting it to sleep and everything. I'm doing what I can. But Suicune in this game, I believe its catch rate is...
And we're sure it's pronounced Suicune and not Suicune.
No, don't start this again. No more tangents on pronunciation.
So, Suicune has a catch rate of 3. So that is the lowest catch rate in the entire game. But I caught it. I'm really happy. So who wants to tell their experience? Because this is fun, actually. We all get different experiences for the first time.
Okay, so I go back to Akritique, go to the tower. When you go in, there's like 2 monks, and I talked to one of them and he's like, oh, the tower's moving. I think a Pokemon just returned. And so then you go into the tower. And I don't know how it was like for you, Chris. It was like this little puzzle where it's like ledges that you had to jump through to go all the way up to like the top. Actually, for me, it was a little difficult because it took me a little bit of time of just redoing it a bunch of times. So I eventually finally found the right path. There's a bunch of items in there that I picked up. So it took me a little bit of time, but then I did finally make it to the top. And then you see the Ho-Oh sprite, which still like the overworld sprite, still looks pretty cool. And then you battle it. And for me, it's well known I'm not the hunter here. I was so scared that this was going to go bad. So I went in kind of opposite approach to Chris, where it's kind of how I play Pokemon games. I think Ultra Balls are too expensive, and so I don't buy them at all. I only buy Great Balls because they're half the price. So I went in with, I think I had 30 Great Balls. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to just chuck Great Balls at it when I get it low enough. Because my Ampharos has Thunder Wave to paralyze it. So I did that. And I was actually able to catch it on my first run. It took me about 10 Great Balls. I paralyzed it, and then I put Typhlosion out there just to damage it a little bit. And Typhlosion still had like more than half health left. So it was just a surprisingly easy and quick encounter for me to catch Ho-Oh. And if we weren't doing this type of run, I would 100% put Ho-Oh on my team because he's so cool. I always loved him and always would put him when I played Heart Gold back in the day, but great Pokemon design.
That's really impressive that you caught Ho-Oh or Ho-Oh with your first try.
It's actually Hoo-Oo.
Chris, I will strangle you.
That is really impressive. I mean, it took me 40 Ultra Balls and it took you said around 10 Great Balls?
Yep. 10 Great Balls.
Wow. And it's interesting to know, Ho-Oh is actually much stronger than the Suicune I mentioned because it knows Sacred Fire and Recover. So it's pretty formidable if you're not ready.
Yep. Luckily, I did have my Typhlosion that I was able to tank most of those hits. And like I said, I was totally anticipating having at least to restart once or twice, but got very lucky there.
Was it a pain in the butt using Recover at all, or did that not really happen?
So I had my Ampharos first, just paralyzed it. Switched up to Typhlosion. Typhlosion only got to like half health, and then I caught it.
Well, my story is not the same as Sean's. So first going to Whirl Islands, This is where you finally have to solve this puzzle where there's whirlpools and surf, and you have to use strength. Just all within this puzzle, so I needed all my Pokemon. I had to keep Lapras on the team from the previous gym battle, from my all water type Pokemon team from the last episode. Before going to the puzzle, there's one additional swimmer that you could have faced before and I just fought now. He asked if there was a hit song about a boy riding a Lapras. Do you guys have any idea what this might be alluding to?
I'm going to let Sean speak first because I actually read this and it told me something it could be alluding to, so I'm a little spoiled.
My guess would be Puff the Magic Dragon, but Lapras is not a dragon, so I have no idea.
Chris, do you know?
The one thing I read was they could be referring to the first anime opening of the Pokemon show, because at some point Ash and his friends are riding on his Lapras in like a part of the opening theme.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense than my guess.
Yeah, because they show a couple Pokemon and then he's riding on a Lapras as a Gyarados comes by and a Dragonair comes by. At the same time, though, that's a little bit of a stretch to say, have you heard a hit song with a boy riding a Lapras?
Hey, the song is actually really quite good, though.
I prefer the Orange Islands. So you want to be a master Pokemon? Do you have the skills to be number one?
Yeah, it's really good. And now going into the puzzle, first you have to use Pokemon with Whirlpool and of course already having Surf just to find the correct cave. And there's like 4 separate caves. Apparently they're all connected underground, but you can't actually get to each section. So after I finally made it to the 4th cave, you still need a Pokemon with Strength. And then also I forgot to mention each cave, you need Flash too. So now I have 3 Pokemon that all have moves just to get here. So that already made it quite difficult because none of those 3 Pokemon are really my Pokemon capturing Pokemon. And I did pull in Baron Hop again. If you guys remember from a previous episode, he's level 37, so he's now basically the same level as all my Pokemon. Just took like 2 episodes to get all my Pokemon up to his level. He's still a Hoppip, and he is the only one on my team that knows a sleep move, Sleep Powder. So I was like, all right, I'll throw him out first against Lugia. And with 1 Aeroblast, Hoppip was dead. So from there, I struggled. I didn't have any move to really put it to sleep or to like paralyze it. So I ended up accidentally fainting it the first try. The second try, I tried to like put all my other Pokemon first before putting Hoppip out. But I ended up running out of Great Balls. I followed the same strategy of Sean, where I think I only had like 3 Ultra Balls and 20 Great Balls. So I went through all of those and ran out. So it was finally on my 3rd try where I came up with a new strategy. I basically threw my other Pokemon out and made it use all of its Aeroblast moves. So then I could throw out Hoppip to put it to sleep. I used Lapras's Icy one too to make sure that it would slow down Lugia before I threw Hoppip out. So I really had to strategize. Just like me and Chris, took us quite a few tries on this legendary Pokemon compared to Sean only taking 1 try.
Maybe I should be the Pokemon hunter since I'm the one catching these legendaries pretty easily here.
We'll see at the end of this episode.
I know, I definitely did not even catch up to you guys at all.
This is where we bring the first Pokedex highlight I have of this episode. Lugia, he is entry number 249. He is a diving type Pokemon, and his Pokedex entry reads, "It is said to be the guardian of the seas. It is rumored to have been seen on the night of a storm." Which storm? I do not know. One very interesting thing here too, of all the Pokedex entries we have so far, he is the one that weighs the most. He weighs almost 500 pounds and is 17 feet tall.
17 feet?
17 feet.
That's what I was going to ask, because sometimes Pokemon, they seem really huge and daunting, and then it turns out they're 5 feet tall.
Yeah, that's just a shot. Just Charizard right there, isn't it?
I think Dragonite, too. I think Dragonite is only 6 feet tall.
I did like the Lugia sprite, and I know we can't use him, but I did teach him Fly. So he is now my Fly buddy. And one cool thing is, instead of now seeing the Pidgey icon, since Lugia has his own overworld sprite, you see Lugia when you fly, which is really cool.
Oh,
really?
Really?
That is so cool.
So I think, Sean, you could probably do that with Ho-Oh and check it out too.
Yeah, I never knew that. Now I definitely need to give it fly and start using it to fly around because I just use my hoo-hoo.
We are now in Route 44, the route towards Blackthorn City. Any notes here?
Is there anything in the game that actually points you in that direction, or do you just have to assume I have all 7 badges, I don't know what to do anymore, let's try exploring the one area that I haven't been to yet?
Yep, you have to assume, Chris.
For my case, I knew where I had to go just because I remember trying to pass that one guy that kept giving you those rage candy bars. I was like, I have to get there. So that was on my mind most of this game.
I figured that's where you had to go, but I realized that when I defeated the Goldenrod radio tower, I thought to myself, they did the broadcast to tell you to go over there, but there's not an NPC or anything that says, ooh, now all you have left to do is find Clair in Blackthorn City.
They do not hold our hand at all during this generation, Chris. We have to find it all out.
Yeah, in Route 44, I don't have much to say other than you can find a Lickitung. That's interesting.
You do encounter a Fisher who loses a Poliwag due to you just wanting to battle him. And he exaggerates, saying that the Poliwag must have been 16 feet tall, which in this case, just imagine that Poliwag being as tall as Lugia. That's kind of scary.
The proportions of a Poliwag would be so weird if it was 16 feet tall.
Size of a house at that point.
All I would say is starting from Route 44 on, like, I started catching a decent amount of Pokemon for, like, me, enough to make me make a note of it.
So just because you wanted to?
Yeah. I think the thing with me is I like a lot of these in Gen 2, the Pokemon designs, even though I don't really plan on ever using them. Like, okay, just going to the Icy Path, I caught one of the first ones I encountered was a Swinub, and I love Swinub. He's just so adorable, even though I don't think, not until it gets its full evolution line, I would ever use it. But, I just had to throw it in there, catch it. It's so cute.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Swinub's really cute. And there are a lot of unique Pokemon now that you're finding in the Ice Path. You know what? Instead of just me listing it, my Pokemon hunter, Dustin, did you catch any Pokemon in the Ice Path?
Oh, I did capture a couple. I caught Swinub, Jinx, and I also caught Delibird, which was a little bit difficult because he would keep fleeing.
I actually was debating on using a Delibird during my playthrough, just because I thought it was such a unique Pokemon, and I don't usually use ice types, and all the research I did said that it was so bad, like, do not even consider using Delibird.
You have Shuckle, that's enough quirk for you. Don't put yourself through that. Present is one of the worst moves ever created.
Hey, it can do some pretty good damage.
It can also heal.
I know. Who designed that?
So, Dustin, do you know about its move, Present?
I do not.
It actually has 4 different probabilities. And so it either hits with base 40 power, that's 40% of the time. Hits with 80 base power 30% of the time. Does 120 base power 10% of the time. And 20% of the time it heals for a fourth of the target's max HP. And the cherry on top is that it's not even a 100% accurate move.
I forgot about that.
And it's a normal type move. It's not even ice or flying, so it doesn't get any stab bonus. It's just horrible.
And you know how in the recent Pokemon games, they've discontinued moves, like you cannot use them? You could still use Present. Like, someone went through this move and said, yeah, this is still very valid to have. That is the worst move I've ever heard. But it's fun to play if you can tank it long enough. Imagine having a Shuckle. This is an amazing time to have one.
If this was double battles, Chris, maybe.
Safe to say I did not use Delibird. One thing to note, Sneasel is found in Pokemon Crystal here in the Ice Caves. If you get down to the lowest level, it is found 10% at nighttime. It is the only place in Crystal that you can find a Sneasel. And Pokemon Gold and Silver cannot find one until Mount Silver at night or Route 28 in Kanto.
I love Sneasel design too. Maybe down the line we'll be able to talk more about Sneasler, because that's another one of my favorites. But, maybe it gets a little bit stronger in later generations. I guess we'll have to find out.
Well, inside of Ice Path, there's another puzzle here that we face, which is similar to the Ice Gym that's nearby Mahogany Town. So in this case, you slide around a lot. You have to try and make your way over. This one was easier than the gym puzzle, for me at least. And there's a second puzzle here where you do have to push rocks down onto the ice path so that way you can stop into the rocks. And I thought that was a pretty cool creative puzzle that they included here. And my last note here is that you do find HM7 waterfall in this cave. And you mentioned your poly toad can't learn waterfall.
Oh, I'm not even teaching Waterfall to Politoed. I'm teaching all of my water moves to my Vaporeon because my Politoed knows Surf. Man, is it so unfortunate that there are 3 water HMs in this game. And I think we mentioned that. That's when I said, I can't believe there's 2, and Sean said 2. Just wait till you find the third one.
And now you found it, Chris.
My HM buddy Lapras cannot learn waterfall. So it can only learn Surf and Whirlpool and Strength, but not waterfall, which is very annoying. So now I need 2 Pokemon just to traverse the water.
As I mentioned before, a long time ago, I did catch a Krabby. I named it Mr. Krabs, and it was my water HM buddy for the longest time, but it couldn't learn waterfall. So I decided to make the Mantine Mr. Ray. I turned him into my water HM buddy, and now he has all my water HMs.
All right. Any other notes inside of Ice Path?
One small note, a little unrelated, but in the anime, there is one episode where they go through the ice path. It's never mentioned by name, but it's an icy route that connects that route with Blackthorn. And that is the only episode of Johto to be banned internationally because it prominently features a Jinx. And at that point, they still had not changed the colorization from a dark black background to a purple background. So it caused some tensions there. You can find Jinx in here too, but I just wanted to mention that the ice path is a little infamous for being the only area you can't see in the Johto anime.
Oh yeah, then so I think in this time they officially changed the sprite because in the first one it was the black, now it's the purple.
Yeah, I think that was in the international releases. They had enough time to recolor Jinx. And then going forward, it'll always be purple. There are some appearances of Jinx in the first generation in the anime, but those are not banned. You can still find those.
I guess talking about the anime, we didn't go over Lugia's origin, did we? Do you guys know how Lugia was created?
No.
I heard about this. Take us away, Dustin.
So Lugia was actually not made by the Pokemon company. Shudo is the person who was behind basically Mewtwo Strikes Back, one of the screenwriters, and basically they gave him enough power just because he had such a good movie to basically design this new Pokemon that he wanted to use for the second movie. He really wanted to create a darker storyline for the franchise, and that's what really led to the creation of the Pokemon Lugia. And after he put it into the movie, the Pokemon company liked it so much, they decided to just add it into this Johto game, Gen 2. So I thought that was really cool.
Well, I guess since we're talking about the anime and the legendaries, I think we have to talk about Ho-Oh's first appearance. I think it was the first ever anime episode of Pokemon. Ho-Oh was the last seen Pokemon flying through the sky, and it's just so funny that it was introduced in the very first anime episode.
I think that's one of the coolest things the anime did by showing a Gen 2 legendary that people didn't know of yet.
Yeah, I have to say, one of my favorite times would be when the Pokemon Company would tease their newest releases by showing the Pokemon in the generation beforehand. You see really prevalently with this Gen 2, just Ho-Oh we spoke of, and a couple other of them. I think Togepi is introduced early, and several other Pokemon. I believe Meryl as well. And then just in later generations, I mean, they do it a couple times, but I think that's a lost art that they need to start doing again.
Yeah, there's one very good example. So when Ash was going through the Johto trials, the person he loses to, I don't remember his name, he has a Blaziken. It's so cool. Like Sean mentioned, it's really interesting that they're teasing their new season, their new Pokemon like that. And imagine you've still never played Ruby and Sapphire, and this guy in the Johto region has a Blaziken. That's cool.
We've now gone through Ice Path, and now we're moving into Blackthorn City, a quiet mountain retreat, and also the home of the 8th gym badge for us. Do you guys have notes here?
Not really, other than there is the move deleter located here, which is useful if you want to get rid of some HMs that you taught to some Pokemon and mix those around. Other than that, this city is very lackluster. Not really much to do.
I lucked out and I encountered Santos of Saturday, one of the weak siblings, and he just looks out of place. So I was like, who is this guy? And he says, hello, I am Santos. I'm like, oh, you're one of those guys. He doesn't even give you anything good. He gives you a spell tag, which increases ghost type moves.
Hey, I'll take that.
Right. Dustin's using the one ghost line, you know?
Also, there's a trade that can happen, which I guess I'll have to go back and make it, which is a Dragonair for a Rhydon. So you can get Rhydon.
In my game, it's a Dodrio.
Ooh, I like Rhydon more.
I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think Rhydon's better than Dodrio, and I also think Dragonair is better than both of them.
Dragonair, you gotta get to level 55. And, that is a pain, talking from someone who's done it before.
Have some other notes, one of them being there is a Dragon's Den that only Dragon users are allowed to use to train, apparently. And there is someone who mentions that Clair actually trained there with Lance, the other Dragon trainer that we know from the Elite Four of Kanto. I have another note that there is an NPC outside the gym, and they mentioned that it's impossible for a run-of-the-mill trainer to win against this gym leader. So I was just thinking, like, oh, man, I wonder how Chris is going to do against this gym leader.
Oh, that's setup. Just some junk on you, Chris.
Is that a dig?
Do you guys have any other notes?
So here, what I ended up doing, I don't know what you guys decided to do, but I headed down south to explore Route 45 a little bit. And going into this, I knew that was all kind of just ledge-based. So I had to make sure I had my Pokemon with fly so I could fly back up as I went down the path. Only just because I remember doing this a while ago.
I know Chris sent us a text making sure to bring flying Pokemon. And of course, I did not.
What am I here for?
So I had to make my way back to, what was it, Cherry Grove City, I think? Because you basically end up right back in New Barktown.
It is quite unfortunate that they don't tell you that ahead of time.
You guys have notes here?
The only thing is just another Pokemon that isn't the greatest now, but becomes better later that I love is Gligar that you could find over here. I love its design. It has an amazing typing of ground flying, but unfortunately, its move pool in this first generation is just so horrible. Maybe down the line, if it ever gets a boost somehow, I would love to have that Pokemon.
Two things I have to note. See, I thought that was interesting because there's also a cool Pokemon that you can catch that I thought you were going to talk about. For me, it's Skarmory. I think that Skarmory is one of the coolest designed Pokemon. I like its steel typing. And one thing that I always remember is that Skarmory has a really low catch rate. I'm looking this up now. It's a catch rate of 25. For example, the catch rates can be anywhere between 3 and 255, I think. So this is one of the lowest non-legendary Pokemon, and I don't know why. It just happens to be super low, but I know that because in Pokemon Coliseum, you can catch a Skarmory, and I can remember as a kid throwing ball after ball at the Skarmory and being like, why is this not catching? But it just has a really low catch rate.
The reason I didn't bring him up is because he's not in my game.
Oh, no.
So I can't catch him. So I didn't encounter Skarmory. But I love Skarmory too. That design is just so cool. And very surprisingly, one of the few Johto non-evolution Pokemons that's actually viable to use because of how good it is.
This route has 2 really cool Pokemon to capture. Moving on, I did take one last note of a trainer who says that they drink their Pokemon's HP up because they love it. And it just made me wonder what an HP up tastes like. Is that like a cough syrup? Is what I'm imagining, but I have no idea.
It's kind of gross.
Just drinking your Pokemon's food. Otherwise, I did go inside Dark Cave here. Did you guys take a look inside Dark Cave?
I did.
I'll be honest. I did not because I had no desire to go back in there.
There's not that much in there. I mean, Dustin, you can talk about it, but from what I saw, there's a couple items. There's the TMs for Snore. That's the only TM in there. And I know there's a guy who gives you the black glasses if you find him in the corner of the cave.
I do remember the sunglass guy, and he was kind of sketchy because he tells you to forget that you saw him after he gives you a black pair of sunglasses. I wonder what kind of business he was doing there. Otherwise, this is the segment where I caught my second Pokemon for the Pokedex highlight, Wobbufett.
Oh, I did not catch a Wobbufett because you guys have it easy where almost all of your encounters are the same morning, day, and night. There's only a few exceptions. Crystal takes it to the max and likes to always schedule them at different times. A Wobbufett could only be found at nighttime in my game, so I did not catch it.
I will read his Pokedex, which is entry number 202. He's the patient Pokemon. And his Pokedex reads, to keep its pitch black tail hidden, it lives quietly in the darkness. It is never first to attack. Just really thought that first line was really interesting. The fact that it really wants to keep its tail pitch black, it just hides. That's not a detail I'd really think about it.
Have you guys ever used a Wobbufett before on a team?
No, I was just going to mention that Wobbufett, especially in the later generations, is like a Nuzlocke run killer. It's the type of Pokemon that you never want on your team, but you would always hate to encounter. Because it's just such a unique Pokemon in order to use. So, Dustin, do you know its whole gimmick?
I don't.
So, its gimmick is it doesn't have any attacking moves. It learns only 4 moves in this generation, which are Counter, Mirror Coat, Safeguard, and Destiny Bond. So, Counter and Mirror Coat operate, whereas Counter, if you're hit with a physical attack, you deal double that damage back to the other Pokemon. Mirror Coat does the same except for special attacks. Safeguard just means the Pokemon on your team for 5 turns can't get any status condition. And then Destiny Bond, if it faints, the other Pokemon faints. So Wobbufett's whole design is as a punching bag Pokemon. So it gets punched and it hits you back with either a counter or a Mirror Coat or Destiny Bond. You're going to have to constantly be guessing what your opponent's going to be doing. And so it's just not really usable in combat, but unique is the best word to give it, I guess.
Heading into our 8th gym, we're encountering the very first trainer, and they ask, you met Dragon Trainer Lance? That isn't possible. And I'm just thinking, like, why isn't that possible? We've already met him multiple times, so this is probably just this guy's idol that he thinks is impossible to meet, this Lance character.
I think it's kind of strange how much they put Lance on a pedestal in this game. An Elite Four member from Gen 1 that shows up one battle, you talk to him once, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, whoa, that's Lance. He's so cool.
Do you not think he's cool, Chris?
I don't know. He has one type of Pokemon, dragons, which have one line. A little diversity would be nice.
Oh, you know what? Back in the day, I thought Lance was all that. I thought he was super cool. So I believe the hype, Chris.
One thing about this gym, I absolutely hate it when you need HMs to do puzzles in gyms. It is so frustrating because this uses the strength puzzle where you need to be able to push boulders to cross the lava. And it's not that big of a deal, especially the way we're playing where we're not coming in with parties of 6. But I think for all the people who don't have a Pokemon with strength on their team, that's really frustrating to have to forego a team member for that.
Yeah, like I think it makes it more difficult for us because we had a team of 4 Pokemon going into this gym. Obviously, my last team of full water type Pokemon, I was fine giving them HMs, but now that I have my real team of 4 Pokemon, it is really difficult to try and pick who should have strength now, because I did not bring Lapras in.
When I went to this, I thought we were supposed to have 5 Pokemon, I'll be honest. So the Pokemon I had that had strength, once when I realized that, I just kind of used strength to move the puzzle. And I left the gym and then went with 4 and completed it because I didn't want the Pokemon strength in my party.
I was thinking of doing the same thing, but I was like, no, I gotta treat this like a real professional would.
I should have done that. I mean, if I realized we were supposed to have 4, I wouldn't have done that. But it was when I was in the gym, I talked to you, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to have 4. All right, well, I'm going to do this and drop this one off.
I mean, just talking about the 4 Pokemon that we had, this is our last gym that we're going in with just 4 Pokemon. This will be our last Johto battle. We're carrying 4 Pokemon. After this, we will have a full team of 6, which will be exciting to do. But just to review, the first gym, we had 2 Pokemon. Then the next 2 gyms, we had 3. And now this will be our 4th gym that we have 4 Pokemon. So we've basically played the majority with 4 Pokemon. And it is quite fun playing against you guys just with 4 Pokemon, just because you really have to strategize around it. I've been enjoying that. But what do you guys think?
I like the lower limit because if you do competitive now, if you do singles, you team of 6 and you pick 3 Pokemon from it that you go in the actual battle. If you do doubles, it's still a team of 6, but you pick 4 that you take in with you. So it's fun to have lower Pokemon because you really have to decide. But at the same time, I think these games were designed for us using 6 Pokemon.
I have been having a lot of fun doing this challenge so far. Chris, did you want to say something before we fight against the gym leader?
I did find some nicknames of Claire before we fight her.
Oh, what are the nicknames?
Mother of Dragons, Stormborn, Khaleesi,
Khaleesi.
Queen of the Andals, and the first
Breaker Chains.
You guys caught on to that.
Mother of Dragons was just too obvious, Chris.
Well, I thought you guys would just think of Claire at first. I kept thinking of that I was fighting Daenerys Targaryen the entire time.
Going into Clair, let's go ahead and reveal our Pokemon party. I know we didn't reveal it earlier, but we can take 4 more Pokemon then. For me, I had Admiral Tot for Alligator, Rear Admiral Scar Gengar. I don't have any other Admirals yet, and we are coming close to the end of the game, so we'll see if I get any more. But I took in my Eevee evolution, Midnight the Umbreon, and my final new Pokemon member, Lieutenant Hercule the Heracross. As my team. Let's hear it from Sean, because I know we might have the same Pokemon.
We do have the same Pokemon. I brought in Darkness, the Umbreon, for our first time. I thought this might happen. Also brought in Pikafluff, the Ampharos, my guy. And of course, everyone knows him and loves him, Cinder, the now Typhlosion. And the final one was Sneaker the Slowking. So this is going to be a lot at stake during this battle, Dustin.
If you notice in my naming conventions, I did not add any prefix to Midnight because it's all dependent on what happens in this battle, if I will promote or demote Umbreon. That's just how Gentleman Oliver Allwine rolls.
All right, Chris, how about your team? You have any matching Pokemon with us?
I have a opposite evolution. I have ESPN, the Espeon. I have Chica, the Meganium, Wagyu, the Politoed, and Teddy, the Ursaring. Nothing too new.
It will be exciting to see how the Johto Battles go, because this will be our very first time having a copycat with Gen 2. We did have it in Gen 1, but now with that introduction of the rule, we'll see who gets to keep Umbreon in the next episode. So, when you face against Claire, she mentions that she is the world's best dragon master. And I think that's especially because Lance is a part of the Elite Four, and apparently Claire says that she can hold her own even against the Elite Four.
I think she's a little jealous. I think she wants to be an Elite Four member, and instead they said, you can be the strongest gym leader. How about that?
Well, I guess she did train with Lance in this Dragon Den area, so I guess maybe they're equal levels, but there's one big difference, and that being Lance has a Dragonite. And she only has a Kingdra as her final Pokemon.
Hey, don't talk shame about Kingdra. Kingdra is bomb. I mean, especially right now. Does it have any weaknesses?
Ice.
Ice is normal. It only has one weakness that's dragon because it's water and dragon, which is only one other dragon line that could attack it.
Oh, that is a good Pokemon.
Not just good, it's one of the best Gen 2 Pokemon, so you can't talk down on its name.
And it's also quad resistant to fire and water type moves, which we know are some of the most common moves in the game. Is that the only Gen 2 dragon Pokemon?
Yep. So now there's a Kingdra and then the whole Dragonair line. Those are the only dragon types.
I will say, going over Claire's team, she has 3 Dragonairs, all level 37, and the Kingdra level 40. I kind of praise and also knock her team a little bit because it would have been really nice if she had maybe one Dragonite, and I understand why they can't do that because it really is supposed to evolve at level 55, and it just doesn't work. But at the same time, her having 3 Dragonairs is very interesting because they all have different moves. They all have Slam, Thunder Wave, and Dragon Breath, but one knows Surf, one knows Thunderbolt, and one knows Ice Beam, so you never know which Dragonair you're fighting. That's actually really cool.
I mean, of all the battles we've had recently, although I don't think it was difficult, it was the most fun because Kingdra at the very least gave me somewhat a run for my money, just me trying to take it down. But it was definitely the most interesting of all the battles we talked about today.
Well, yeah, and every move that I mentioned between Slam, Thunder Wave, and Dragon Breath all have the potential to paralyze you. So if you even make it to Kingdra, odds are your Pokemon are paralyzed.
How did you guys fare against Claire?
This is the one thing I wrote really detailed notes on. So my strategy was to just brute force it and use my Politoed that knows Ice Punch. And I also gave it the item Never Melt Ice, which I found in the Ice Path. And so what happened here was I used my first Ice Punch. And of course, Claire is a jerk and uses Thunder Wave and paralyzes my Politoed. So the next round, I'm slower than it. It uses Dragon Breath. I'm paralyzed. Next round, it uses Dragon Breath. And finally, my Ice Punch goes through, and I get rid of the first Dragonair. Now I go up to the next one that knows Thunderbolt. So I realize now that I can't do this with my Politoed because this is the Dragonair that knows Thunderbolt. So I switched to Ursaring and I use Return, get rid of the Dragonair. And then the third Dragonair just falls to Return again because right now Return and Ursaring is so OP that I don't even think anything can really stand a chance against it. So then finally, Claire brings out her Kingdra. And it's trying to use different little strats here. It used Smokescreen. So I decided to bring in Meganium. And the funniest thing is that after that, it uses Hyper Beam. It criticals and it still doesn't kill my Meganium, which is crazy. And I'm going to do some looking up of stats there to figure out why that a 300 power move couldn't get rid of Meganium, but it didn't. I was able to use Razor Leaf on that turn it got hit, and then one more Razor Leaf on the next turn when I was recharging, and I was able to defeat Claire without losing any Pokemon.
I could just go ahead now into my story. All of Claire's Dragonairs are girls. My Umbreon's a guy that knows the Attract move, so I got them all to fall in love with Umbreon and take it down like pretty easy without getting any status on him, because I think only one or two of them actually hit. And then she sent out Kingdra. And I was surprised, one, that was level 40, and two, that knew Hyper Beam, because it used Hyper Beam on my Umbreon. But Umbreon is just a tank that just kept on going through it. I eventually switched out to my Slowking. I used Disable to get rid of its Hyper Beam, because that's just too annoying for me. And I just kept on using Ice Punches, because I gave him Ice Punch. And I actually got her Kingdra to get frozen, but then she used a Hyper Potion and then a full heal. I was like, what the heck? Like, come on. Why you got cheat like that? But anyways, I was able to get it down real low before Slowking was about to faint, just because it kept on using Surf, which did a lot of damage. And then I threw in Ampharos and finished it off with a couple more Thunder Punches.
I do not have that many notes at all. My only note here is that I basically used for Alligator and Ice Punch for the first 3 Pokemon, and then against Kingdra, I was able to use Bite. So I only beat her with just for Alligator.
So now we've all beaten Claire. And what do you know? Claire also doesn't want to give us a badge. Strange, this is the second gym leader we've had to deal with who doesn't want to give us a badge after we beat them. But whatever, she's like, oh, you're not worthy. Go to the Dragon's Den and prove that you're worthy. So we have a little bit more we have to do before we actually get the badge, which now we're actually allowed to go in the Dragon's Den. At least for me, was very empty. The only exciting thing is that now you could encounter a Dratini. I encountered it a couple times, but I wasn't able to catch it. And, I'm not the hunter, so I just gave up. I mean, I don't really have much to say about Dragons, and I don't know if you guys do.
There's nothing much else. You're right. You can find a Dratini by surfing, 10% chance, or with a good rod. You can find a Dragonair. There's a 10% chance with a super rod. We just don't have access to that item yet. And did I write anything else down? Oh, yeah. I had one crazy battle where my Shuckle, which you guys keep making fun of, went up against 2 Dratini, and it was really stupid because I used Encore on the first turn, and it kept using Flamethrower, which didn't help me, and it burned me. But my Shuckle finally killed the first Dratini when it had 3 HP left after using like 4 rollouts, and he brings out the second Dratini. It uses Headbutt. It only gets rid of 2 of my HP, so I have 1. And my last rollout gets rid of the second Dratini. And I was like, yes, you've redeemed yourself, Shucks.
I don't believe you. I think you're making this up just for us to give Shuckle some more respect.
It happened. I swear it happened. The last thing I noted, too, was HMs are so dumb. Why are there whirlpools in this cave? Like, what is the gain to the game by making me use Whirlpool in this situation? And why can't I just go over the Whirlpool? Why can't it know that I have a Pokemon with Whirlpool and just automatically happen?
Within the Dragon Den, you finally do receive the Dragon Fang, and I thought at this point you'd have to bring it back, but immediately, once when you get it, Claire just walks up to you and says you're now worthy, and she hands over the Rising Badge. You can now use Waterfall outside of battle. You can train Pokemon to any level, and you get the TM24 Dragon Breath. And at this point, she also does give you a little hint of where to go next, which is to the Pokemon League, back to New Barktown.
We have all 8 badges now. Look at us.
The only extra thing in Crystal is that I mentioned there's some trainers there. I don't know if you guys had trainers in your game.
We have no trainers.
That I can understand why my stories seem fake then, but I have trainers, I swear. Lastly, there is a master that will quiz the player on their treatment of Pokemon. If the quiz is completed, no matter what, you'll be rewarded with a Dratini. So I have a Dratini because they gave one to me. And if you get all the answers right, the Dratini will know Extreme Speed. And I just cheated and I looked up the answers. Even though I'm not going to use this Dratini with Extreme Speed because it's level 15, I have it. So that's fun.
That's exciting. Talking about that quiz, in our next episode, we will be bringing back the quiz since we are now on our way to the Pokemon League. We caught all 8 badges. We should have a good understanding of Pokemon, so I can't wait for that next episode.
I can't wait to get a score of 9.85.
Pokestats. Let's start off with the total time it took us to beat this episode, starting off with Sean, who had the least amount of time last episode.
Well, it took me 30 hours and 5 minutes.
I'm currently at 36 hours and 43 minutes.
I don't know how this keeps happening, guys, but I'm at 47 hours and 23 minutes.
Nice.
Oh my god.
This feels like a recent occurrence. Have you always that high above us?
This past episode, you guys both played similar amount of time, around Chris 4 hours and 22 minutes, Sean 4 hours and 35 minutes, and I played 8 hours and 58 minutes.
What did you do?
One of the biggest time wasters this episode for me was Whirl Islands, just trying to figure out the puzzle. And also, since the last episode, I took in a full water team. I had to now train my normal team. So every time I encountered someone in Whirl Islands, I would battle them and beat the Pokemon. Moving into total Pokedex, we'll start off with Sean again.
I have a whopping total of 48.
I thought you said you caught a lot of Pokemon this episode.
That is a lot for me.
I caught 108 Pokemon. So I joined Chris in the 100 club.
And I am at 116 right now.
Oh, man. I can't catch up. So Sean caught the same amount of Pokemon as he did in the last episode with 7.
Which is a lot.
And then me and Chris caught 10 Pokemon since our last episode. And then our final stat, which is levels. We will start off with me. So I did not have the highest Pokemon team last time because I did have my full water team. But this time I had Lieutenant Hercule, the Heracross, newest edition, level 39. Midnight Umbreon, level 39. Rear Admiral Scar, the Gengar, at level 40. And Admiral Top for Alligator at level 40.
For me, Chica, the Meganium, at 36. Wagyu, the Politoed, at 37. ESPN, the Espeon at 37, and Teddy, the Ursaring, at 37. All pretty consistent.
I have Darkness, the Umbreon, at level 38. Pika Fluff, the Ampharos, at level 38. Cinder, the Typhlosion, at level 38. And, drum roll please, Thinker, the Slowking, at level 39.
39? Wasn't expecting that.
Very close to having all 38, but it literally turned to level 39 in the gym.
I guess a lot of my time went into leveling up those Pokemon too, because now I went from having the lowest average party to now having the highest. So Sean and Chris, you both level up basically 4 levels, and then I leveled up almost 10 levels since the last gym on average. And in our Pokestats, I am including one extra statistic, which is the total number of whiteouts. And turns out Chris has the most whiteouts at 4, Sean has 2, and I have 1 whiteout. And just for the viewers to recap where those happened, Sean, his first one was the very first Pokemon he faced.
I remember that.
You have to remember that. Chris was the first gym leader, the second gym leader, and the third gym leader. And the third gym leader is also where I whited out. That was up against Whitney and her Miltank. And then both Chris and Sean's final whiteout was against Morty. So you guys both whited out against the 4th gym leader.
Oh yeah, Morty was tough.
Luckily, no one whited out against the legendaries this time around. I know last season we did white out against the legendaries. So moving into our Johto Battles. So this is our final Johto Battle before we head into the Elite Four. And just to go over our current standings, I am on top with 8 wins and 4 losses. Chris has been very steady with 6 wins and 6 losses, 1-1 every episode. And Sean is on the bottom with 4 wins and 8 losses.
Still a lot of game left.
There is still a lot of game left. We still haven't decided how many additional battles we will have. But I also just want to leave a note that we've been really even the past 2 episodes. We've all went 1-1. So it's been very interesting this season. For tonight, we're going to start off with me versus Chris.
What? Oh my god, no.
Oh, wow. We went straight into the EVs, Umbreon versus Espeon.
Oh, come on, really.
I wonder what Chris is going to do.
I wonder what I'm going to do.
I wonder what what do you mean you wonder what you're going to do? You're going to kill me if I don't do anything. Oh, jeez, what a tank.
Ooh, I like Umbreon so far. Oh, Synthesis.
Oh.
Return deals so much damage.
Stop critting. There we go.
Oh, Paralyze.
It's a 30% chance to paralyze, and I was not getting it.
It's time to play hardball.
This Gengar is tough. I don't remember how Sean got rid of it last time. Oh, I lucked out on that.
I gotta go down with the ship.
I'd be scared if I was Chris.
No! Yes! What?
Who's gonna hit first? Can Dustin pull it off in the rain with his Fraligator?
Oh, is this good against grass? No!
Oh!
Are we ready for the recap? I think we are. Dustin versus Chris, and it was pretty funny. They both led with their own respective evolution. Dustin with Midnight Umbreon, Chris with ESPN, the Espeon. Chris instantly changed out, as he should have. He threw out his Chica the Meganium, and it was kind of a boring portion of the battle because both of the Pokemon are just so bulky, and Chris kept on doing Synthesis and Body Slams until he finally did get Dustin's Umbreon to get paralyzed, and then Dustin sent out Gengar for a little bit. Gengar does a lot of damage and is pretty fast. So he was doing some damage against Chris's Ursaring and eventually took it down. And that's when Chris sent out ESPN the Espeon. Dustin switched in Heracross, not knowing that Psychic is super effective against fighting. Got instantly taken down. So now it was down to Dustin's Gengar and Fraligator against Chris's 3 Politoed that he has yet to use, Meganium, and ESPN the Espeon. And so Chris had the slight advantage, but the thing with Gengar is that he is really fast. So Dustin was able to move quickly enough to take down Chris's Wagyu the Politoed. Eventually did a lot of damage on ESPN the Espeon before it got taken down, and then Dustin was able to finish up with using Surf on his Fraligator against ESPN the Espeon, and then Chris had to send out his Meganium, and it was Fraligator against Meganium. Dustin went first, got a critical hit Ice Punch that took out Chris's Meganium.
That was intense. That final matchup on both of our starter Pokemon against each other. It's up to like one move, whoever went first.
Pretty much. Yeah, mine would have been super effective too. And it has a high critical hit rate. Not saying that would have happened. Do you know how confident I was too when it was our starters? I was like, oh, yes, I won this one.
I was so
I
scared.
don't think if Dustin didn't hit for a crit, I don't think he would have won. I think Meganium would have just barely survived. From my standpoint, it was very fun to watch.
I was just disappointed in Heracross's debut match and just getting wiped out.
Yeah, I will say, Sean, good luck. His team with a Gengar and a Heracross and a Feraligatr, it's pretty tough.
Now we are moving into our next matchup, Chris versus Sean.
Oh, come on!
Oh, wow, again, it's a mirror matchup. Sean's Umbreon versus Chris's Espeon. You think he would learn? He does the same move going to Meganium.
The same strategy. But will it work this time?
Infatuation, how did that happen? You used Attract?
Attract.
What are you going to do, Chrissy boy?
What is your Ursaring holding?
Nothing.
Oh no, you should have gotten the glasses, boost the normal type moves.
Ursaring is just such a beast.
Woo!
Now we have 3 Pokemon each.
Oh!
Oh, that did so much. Oh my god.
Oh wow, that Politoed is so strong, it just took out Ampharos.
Well, it's a 95 base power move with Rain Dance, yeah.
Slowking versus Politoed. That's a battle of the surf in the rain.
Who could surf cooler?
That Slowking is tanky. It took down Politoed. I'm at the edge of my seat. We're down to the final Pokemon.
Why are you giving me the criticals when they don't matter? This has happened 2 battles in a row.
What's gonna happen?
No! Oh!
Going into the second battle of the night, it was me versus Chris, and it started off yet again with my Umbreon and Chris's Espeon, which he quickly again went back to his Meganium. And Chris was trying to do the same thing with me that he did with Dustin of just trading body slams and synthesis for my attacking moves. But I used a trap on my Darkness and got his Meganium to fall in love. He had to switch out. He sent out Teddy the Ursa Ring. And I was just doing returns just to get some damage off on Ursa Ring until eventually I lost my Umbreon. Then I sent out my Typhlosion. He switched in his Politoed. I got Thunder Punch off on him while he did his Rain Dance. And then I switched into my Ampharos, who got 2-shot from the Surfs because Surf did so much damage, so it didn't even attack at all. Very sad. And then I went back with my Slowking, and we just kept on surfing back and forth, but Slowking's special defense is so high, it wasn't really taking much damage. Took down his Wagyu, the Politoed. Chris sent in Meganium. I went in for Typhlosion, took down Meganium in a couple hits. And then the Espeon took down my Typhlosion, and we're down to my Slowking against Chris's Espeon. Chris moves first, because Espeon's faster than the Slowking, used Bite, and I flinched. Which I was like, all right, whatever, that's fine. I have one more shot at a Surf. Chris goes again, uses Bite, and I flinch again. So back-to-back flinches, which I'm not sure if a Surf would have taken down Espeon, but it would have been pretty close if I was able to get that. I used Disable on both of those times. So if I didn't flinch the first time I got the Disable on the Bite, I probably easily would have won that. But Chris was able to get 2 bites, finish me off. It's another very, very intense battle.
It looks like we do have a triangle going on here where Sean has only been Chris once, and Chris has only been me once. So moving into our final matchup, which is going to be the one with the highest stakes, our first time where Wilmar rules will be implemented. Whoever wins between me and Sean gets to keep Umbreon. The other will have to send Umbreon to that box.
Oh no.
Oh, smart. Very smart.
I'll take a page out of Chris's book. Let's see what happens.
This is a chess match right now.
Oh, well, the flinches.
The flinches, are you kidding me?
Who will get the crit first is going to decide who wins this match.
There's the crit. Sean is just getting the bad luck today. No, you guys can't get it yet, but eventually Umbreon can learn Moonlight, which may be helpful.
Oh, the switch trying to save Umbreon. Okay, Heracross, it's your turn. I don't know what to do against the Slowking using a Heracross.
Oh no, it's confused! Sean, you can do this! Alright, the luck came back. Wait, confusion ended.
This is very scary. I only have 1 Pokemon left per alligator.
All of these have come down to our last Pokemon. No way! He needs a flinch. He needs a flinch to stay alive unless you have a different move. No, does it frozen? It's not frozen!
The final match of the night. For all the marbles, the right to Umbreon, it was me against Dustin. I led with my Umbreon, Dustin led with Heracross. I instantly switched out to Slowking, and Dustin tried to use Counter, which did nothing. I then tried to use Confusion, but Dustin switched in his Umbreon, so that did nothing. He used Bite and got another flinch on my Slowking, so if you're keeping track, that's now 3 straight flinches on my Slowking. Very frustrating.
2.7% chance of 3 flinches in a row.
That's just what happens sometimes. But anyways, I switched out to my Umbreon, and then we're just doing a return battle to each other to see which Umbreon loved his owner more. Dustin got a crit, so his loved him more. I then had to switch around for a bunch of my Pokemon just to get enough chip damage off on Umbreon to finally take it down without getting too much damage on any of my Pokemon. And then also for Gengar, I had to just do a similar strategy of switching in between my Typhlosion and my Ampharos to get chip damage on it until I finally was able to take it down. So I did use my Slowking to finally finish off Dustin's Gengar, and Dustin decides to send out his Heracross, which my Slowking is a Psychic type, and Psychic moves are super effective against Dustin's Heracross. Nonetheless, and I was able to take down Heracross, and then also I was barely able to take down Dustin's Fraligator in the end with my Ampharos, where Dustin really needed a flinch to beat me, but no flinches this time.
Okay, so Dustin threw the match twice because when he had Gengar against Slowking, he used Thief instead of Shadow Ball. And Ghost type moves are super effective against Psychic Pokemon, are they not?
Oh, no.
But I will say there is some strategy that Dustin doesn't know where I guess Ghost is physical in this generation and Gengar does have a higher special attack stat. So I don't know how that evens out using Shadow Ball compared to Thief. I would say it's probably pretty similar. So I don't know if it was entirely throwing, but it definitely probably maybe left a couple hit points on the table. And for this match, a couple hit points was all it took.
That was my confusion. I was like, he had a super effective stab move right there and didn't use it. And then obviously that was painful with the Heracross.
I tried my best. So now our current rankings lie. I'm still on top, 9-5. Chris is 7-7, and Sean is at 5-9. Last 2 episodes and this episode, we are in that triangle where Sean beats me, I beat Chris, and Chris beats Sean.
So Chris is beating me 5 times. Dustin, you beating Chris 5 times. And I've beaten you, Dustin, 4 times. So it's very much, for whatever reason, Chris can't beat you, I can't beat Chris, and you can't beat me. I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like the Pokemon gods just don't want me to beat Chris, because there's just so much that goes right in his games, where it's just a couple things that happen that always prevent me from winning. Whereas Dustin, you're just throwing our games. I'm sorry, you are. You should probably beat me at least 3 of those 4 times I beat you, but you throw.
At least this time was me losing to Dustin kind of by luck, me beating Sean by luck. But then your guys' match was a skill gap.
All right, it's time to end the episode. If you would like to contact us with any stories of your own or questions for us at the Trainer Trio, you can email us at thetrainertriopodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like to see any visuals of our teams or even our Pokedex highlights, you can follow us on Twitter at the Trainer Trio. In our next episode, we will be talking about our experiences leading up to the Pokemon League and facing the infamous Elite Four. We will also be bringing back a quiz. We did do the quiz in Season 1 after we beat the 8th gym, so I thought it'd only be fit to also ask the same questions to really see if you guys are truly Pokemon masters and ready to face off against the Elite Four. Until next time, we are the Trainer Trio signing off. Catch you in the Indigo Plateau, trainers.
May your road lead you to victory. We acquired both the Storm and Mineral Badge by defeating Chuck the Bully and Jasmine, the second base gym leader of Olivine.
Second base. You're like Ron Burgundy there.
You are. You're Ron Burgundy this, Chris.
Maybe she plays baseball. I don't know.
The second baseman of Olivine City, Jasmine.
This is a great start to our episode.